Welcome, my friends. This is Maniacal Incorporated, and this is Thrive, Heavy Lies the Crown, a new Anno-like city builder in a medieval fantasy setting, which has just been released into early access in the last couple of days. A big thank you to the devs for sending me on a copy to check out. I've been streaming this over on Twitch for the last while, and now that I think I know what I'm doing, I'm going to see if I can build my initial settlement, expand out into some neighbouring areas, and thrive over 50 days. In the intro, we're told that our previous empire has collapsed to a mysterious plague called the Waelgrim, and we're given an option as we move into a new province to found our new capital. All of these regions pretty much have the exact same starting resources. I think we're going to start over here in Uppadine. We're going to pick the best flag it is possible to have. And carrying forth our new banner, we are dropped into our new settlement. I'm going to scroll out very quickly. Here is Uppadine. And now we can see that some new areas have actually been generated around us. And these will provide us with some new resources. So the bottom right there is the... what looks like coal is actually iron. There's none of it here in our province. However, there is in the neighbouring province, and it also has fish, which we don't have. But those are concerns for later on. We take our starting caravan and we deploy it, which gives us the option to build a keep, which I'm going to drop. We'll drop it here. And just like a medieval fantasy clown car, the survivors of the previous empire emerge and set to work building our keep, the center of our new capital. Now with that finished, I'm going to start into some of the basics. I'm going to put down a primitive stockpile in this region because we got some stone and we have some trees. So here is our loggers camp. Drop that in the middle of the forest, and the quarriers camp for stone. Now we can take our dirt road and connect up all the ways back to the keep. I've expanded out a small bit in this area, and we're going to do a few things here. I'm going to put in a food store. And because we are made of resources for now, I'm going to put in another primitive stockpile over here. So this is going to allow us to basically start forming the basis of a town center. So now that we have our basic resource collecting area, getting some stone and some lumber, I have put down some houses to start actually building our population. Here is a food store. We're going to grow some food, maybe around here, and provide it to the people. And here's another stockpile to also provide to the people. We can see that some of them are already unhappy. I've given them homes and they're already complaining. So they have a set of needs. And this house at the moment does not have a well. Well, there is one being built. And they also need firewood. And as we provide these requirements for them, there's also needs for luxuries, we'll actually increase the capacity of these houses. And as the capacity increases, people will move from outside the region. They'll actually move in here and grow our population. So the next demand that we can meet is the wood chopper. By building one of these, they will start converting logs into firewood. And that's actually also used in a couple of the other production chains that we're going to see. Now, while we're waiting for our population to grow, we can take a look at our expertise menu and our masteries. These are special skills that we can learn throughout the game, and we can implement 3 of them at a time. We don't have any at the moment. And the expertise are a number of improvements that we can take. So if we take a look at the farmer house bonus, we can decrease the cost by 80% but increase the chance of fire. Or we can say that the houses will increase the happiness of our farmers but will cost 100% more resources. Do you know what? Happy farmers are productive farmers. Now we have a bit of an issue at the moment with our wood chopper. There's nobody working there. If we take a look at the jobs, we can see that we have 5 out of 5 builders. We have 6 out of 6 in the loggers camp. The builders are the only one that we can actually increase or decrease. We've 0 unemployed. And way at the bottom, we have 0 out of 2 wood choppers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually move the wood chopper up. So now, first of all, they're prioritizing working in the logger camp. Then they're prioritizing working in the wood chopper. So we don't really need to worry about the well and the food stores for now. They can go and pick up their own food. But we need to get people working here to start producing firewood. Now, we don't have the population to work it at the moment, but we can see that once we get the firewood for our farmers, the next demand will be apples and also cider. So I've put down a small little orchard here, just behind the back of our food stores, where apples will be grown. They'll be taken to the food stores and then distributed to the population. We've managed to finish the research for the farmers' buildings, so that's actually pushed the happiness up a chunk. And we're beginning to see 2 people living in each house now, so we are opening up these homes. And people have started moving into our settlement. Here is Odessa Daily. We can see that the population is up to 24, and we have her path from the edge of the map where she entered. So we'd better start getting some more firewood to keep our people happy. We can take a wood chopper bonus. The yield of firewood increases by 3, but 1 rough stone is needed. Or production increases, but takes an additional worker. Do you know what? We actually have a lot of stone, so I'm going to take this one. And as we get some more buildings made, we get a pop-up about one of the events. So these are the main storyline. We're told of our Curia. These are going to be our advisors. So Chancellor Bodhi Declan and Duke Donovan Stanton, they remain from the previous empire, from the Curia of the fallen king, from whose dead hands we took the crown. And our good friend, Sir Oisin Hayward, a trusted knight and friend, has been added to round off the group. So we meet the members of the Curia. Here is Bodhi Declan and our good friend Oisin Hayward. So they're trying to get us to see their point of view. Bodhi wants us to work on making things easier on the people. Oisin wants us to prioritize security. And this creepy little devil wants us to focus on money. We can ask either of the 3 of them a few more questions. Duke Stanton, you choose coin over our citizens' security. Your Grace, our citizens are indebted to us. Do you know what? You're absolutely right, they are. And we now have the option to either agree with Duke Stanton or to go back and talk to either of the other 2. Do you know what? Money. I like the sound of that. I like that as you're putting down houses, it gives you this kind of outline, this Venn diagram of the area that has access to the food stores and to the stockpile. So this area here has everything that is needed for people to be happy. These new houses I've just built do not have a stockpile. And once we get that built, we can now see that we've expanded the habitable area. So we have the outline around the stockpile itself, the outline around the farm stores. So if I want to go up in this direction much further, we're going to need to build another farm store somewhere around here. Now we've just hit 41 citizens, which means we've access to new buildings. So just like Anno, there are some buildings that are cut off until you have 60 farmers. But now that we have 40, we have a fermenter where we can make cider, beer and mead. We have a lumberyard for logs and planks, and we have an outfitter for hemp clothing, sandals and leather cloaks. Now the immediate requirements are going to be hemp clothing and cider. To start into the clothing, I'm going to get a hemp farm built next to our stockpile. And we can see the workers on our new orchard planting trees. We're going to have a big demand for apples to sustain both the food requirement and the cider requirement. we're starting to see some hemp hitting the stockpiles, so I'm going to build an outfitter down in our little industrial sector outside the city. As we're beginning to get a good chunk of apples together, I've just put down a fermenter, which is producing cider from apples, water, and firewood. And what would an anno like be without a detailed statistics screen? We can take a look at production of apples. So this is the hourly production. The green line represents production, red is consumption, and purple then is the overall growth of our stockpile. So at the moment it's positive. Hemp, not so much. We might need to actually start producing more hemp. And to also help with that, as we have 3 expertise unlocked from Tier 1, we can now unlock Tier 2, and that has a hemp farm bonus. And by building another hemp farm, I have summoned the Waelgrim. Sir Hayward has an unsettling report. The corpses of 3 animals, guts removed, adorned a makeshift altar within a farmer's house. Sense of rot and incense lingered in the air. So we ask Oisian, what does he make of the scene? He's seen nothing like it before. Whoever conducted this ritual must be from these lands. There are unusual symbols on the wall of the main room centered around the altar. Upon the altar, the remains of 3 animals, their hearts pulled out from them, missing. So we could ask to know more about the strange symbols, about the strange crystals, or about the 3 hearts, or why they were taken. Let's see about these crystals. So these are crystals which are native to Nisomore, which is the region that we have moved into. And Aldamore is the region that we left after it collapsed into ruin. Oisian believes that the Chancellor should look into this. Thank you. We could ask about the other items. We will say, thank you, Oisian. And then we can decide where Oisian, or where we should focus our research and our study into these strange items. We'll study these crystals. So Sir Hayward inquires with the locals, who speak of the crystals with a deep fondness. They explain that they are whale-kissed, capable of great things, but that within them also dwells risk. When asked for greater detail, none is given. So we now have a little bar across the screen. Waelgrim presence, and as I put down buildings and as some other things happen, that bar is going to fill up, and once it reaches 100%, something bad is going to happen. Hooray. For demonstration purposes, let's put down some more houses. So we can see the bar is filling up just a tiny bit. So it kind of depends on the size of the building. And I'm also going to put down a new building that we've gained access to, the Trader's Hut. We're not going to need this immediately, but we'll start prepping for when it's of use to us. The population of Uppadine continues to grow. We're up to 128 farmers, 55 unemployed, and because of this, we've opened up the Labourer Structures menu, so we can actually start to access some of these buildings. So you can see that we can build labour houses. These require planks, however, so I have put down a lumberyard, which is a farmer building, and they're producing the planks, which are going up to begin producing these labour houses, and then labourers will move into them. Our population, our farmers, won't get upgraded. Now, the worst thing about these guys is they're not very happy about a lot of things. They're dragging the happiness down. They want a well, and they want a tavern, and it's going to be a while before we can provide that tavern for them. They're also going to want another few items that I can't actually produce for them on this map because I don't have the resources. Now, to deal with that, I'm going to take my caravan, which I deployed originally, and it gave us an option to build a keep. I've packed it up again. I'm going to send that to our trade depot. And by selecting the trade depot, I can automatically load the various resources your caravan requires to deploy as a trader's hut. So it's going to take some rough stone, some logs, and 20 farmers. And there they all come marching down the road into our trade depot. That now allows me to release the caravan. Come sliding out. We'll zoom way out. And I'm going to need wheat. Wheat is going to be a requirement. So this has wheat. It has fish. It has iron. Do you know what? Yeah. So I'll take that and right-click on it, and we can begin to see that our caravan is heading off. We can also, unfortunately, see that parts of our city have started burning down. Thankfully, we have well coverage, which should hopefully deal with that. Now, over here in Briarfeld, where our caravan has just arrived, I can deploy, if we have the space, and build a trade hut. And again, just like a medieval fantasy clown car, everyone jumps out, the 20 people that were there. Now, I am being told that our primitive stockpile has burnt down. We'll deal with that in a moment, but we have now claimed a new region for our ever-growing empire, and we can see that there is another empire on the map. Wyrmaxa, an enemy kingdom, and if we zoom in, we can't see anything, but we might very well be able to see the steeples of a very large building. It's in here somewhere. Back in Uppadine, where I've managed to get the fires under control, but not the unhappiness. I've been given another choice. Now is the time for self-restraint. Our people have suffered much and laboured hard, but focus is required to help us grow. Indulgences must be tempered. Our citizens will have to accept new residents into their homes, or, if you are willing to trust their instincts, the Chancellor and some farmhands may have a solution. Sure, let's go with that one. So an abandoned logging camp discovered by some roaming farmhands will allow for the production of more farmer homes without drastically reducing stores. So that has actually given us access to a mastery. So if we go to our Tome of Knowledge and check our masteries, so here is a residential mastery. So 20% construction cost reduction to homes. Each home accommodates one additional resident. That's really good. So I'm going to confirm that, which means that this little diamond here has turned red, indicating that we have 2 more masteries that we can have, and then we can reset them with a cost of 100 gold. So we can kind of build our settlement as we so wish and enact whichever masteries are more beneficial at the time. We can see that there are going to be multiple masteries for multiple categories. So we have been hit by a Waelgrim surge. We're getting food spoilage, so we can see that basically, I was going to say all our apples have disappeared, but we didn't have any apples in Briarfield. So we're going to see our apples and everything that we store in our apple stores deteriorating. And now our Waelgrim presence has gone back to 0.6, so it's building up slowly on its own, and then as we put down buildings, it was brought very close to enacting once I got the tavern down to keep the handful of labourers we have that are doing nothing to keep them happy. We're in a small bit of a problem at the moment. I'm getting some hemp clothing produced. I won't say that we're not producing firewood, but basically it is being consumed as quickly as it is being produced. I would say it's close to the same for apples. It's beginning to turn positive again. And hemp, there is a massive requirement. So I've gotten some extra fermenters down I got 1 extra fermenter down to try and produce more cider, and I have another outfitter down to try to provide more clothing, because instead of producing those in Briarfield, I'm going to supply them from here. And as a result of that surge, we now get an event. So that was our first Waelgrim surge. Our people are absolutely terrified, but in the midst of it all, a fragile elderly woman, a Nisian from a nearby town, smiles and laughs, carrying on about her day. Execute her. Greetings, ma'am. Oh, definitely execute her. Execute the 2 of them. We try to tell the woman that nothing good comes of the fog, the Waelgrim. She laughs at us. So basically, the old crazy woman tells us that the surges will come and go, basically as that bar reaches 100, and sometimes we will get blessings and sometimes, most of the time, we won't. And what we must do is conduct research to understand these surges. And indeed, some of the creepy little devils have appeared on the map, but we can't interact with them yet. And here is the start of the events which will give us access to the crystals. Sir Oisian advises caution. Other members of the Curia step forward, and then a commotion comes from just beyond the throne room. Gasps and feeble attempts to hold the stranger who now stands before you. They outstretch their arms to you. Within them, a large cluster of those very crystals cradled upon their flesh. They do not harm me. Would you like to know why? Yes, please, spooky stranger, tell us why. Who are you that can so gently cradle such stones within your arms? So they are one who has walked the lands far longer than any of us. And what they've given us access to is a stockpile. So this is a logistics building, which has just become available to us. Grim stores. And we can store Waelgrim crystals there. The problem is that they will explode. So first of all, we need to make flax oil so that we can actually store them without exploding. But before that, we're going to deal with some other issues. We're slightly on the back foot after a couple of buildings burnt down, including a stockpile. So I'm trying to get my firewood stocks back up and running. They're kind of causing small bits of problems here in Uppadine. I'm going to take the caravan, move it into the trade depot, select that, and now I can move items onto the trade caravan. So I'm going to put in 200 apples and some hemp clothing. We have 505, so I'll go for about 200. Release the caravan. It slides out. And order that to Briarfeld. So I'm going to bring some apples and some hemp clothing over here. I'm already producing firewood. We do have some people without homes, so I might very well just build some homes for them, but I'm bringing across those apples and the hemp clothing to increase the happiness and to make more room here. In our Tome of Knowledge, I've gotten the Outfitter's bonus, the Fermenter bonus from Tier 2. I'm going to unlock this firehouse because I have a feeling we're going to need it. Our caravan has arrived in Briarfeld. Get that into the trade depot. And from there, I can unload the caravan and load it with iron ore. And I'll take as much as you have, because there's no immediate use for it here at the moment. And I will have that caravan bring the iron back to Uppadine. There's no actual need for it in Uppadine just yet either, but we'll have it here, as this is where our labourers are going to work on it. Now, I've gotten down a flax farm. The next thing I need is a flax mill, but for that I need rope. And for rope, I need a craftsman. Now, if all goes well, I'm about to set up a trade route between Uppadine and Briarfeld. So Uppadine is going to take apples and hemp clothing, and it will receive back from Briarfeld iron ore. Now, we're going to need to create more caravans because I can only actually bring back 2 items at the moment from Briarfeld, and I'm going to need to bring back a lot more once I get things up and running. Let's see, though, if this works. And all in one go, we get 2 pop-ups. We were very close to completing the Waelgrim. We have gotten an Adder Beast and a Diplomat. Or I should say, an Envoy. I wonder which of the 2 of them is the worst. So let's wander over and see if we can find this Adder Beast. Now, unfortunately, we haven't been able to get up anything even vaguely resembling a defense. Maybe he hasn't spawned in yet. He will. Oh god, no, he's gone for the Scyther. At the moment, we have absolutely nothing with which to stop him. We have not been able to build or develop anything even vaguely resembling a military setup. And he has spawned right on top of our fermenter, and he's going for the next one. Zeus Murphy, no, now is not a good time to join the kingdom. Save yourself. Zeus Murphy, there's an Irish person whose parents had notions. And there he goes, vanishes into the night. Oh no, he's back, never mind. So what will actually happen after a while is that these guys should vanish. And there he is, he's gone. So he only spawns in once the Waelgrim summons a creature like that. He only remains for a short period of time, but what destruction he causes. He got into the fermenter, drank all the cider. This has been an absolute disaster. On top of this, we receive an envoy from Wyrmaxa. And basically, he's demanding money from us. Our council, some of them will say pay him, some of them will say do not pay him. Sir Hayward is cautious and would have us hold off. The Chancellor says that we should take the peaceful path. We were incapable of protecting our fermenter. We definitely cannot protect our entire settlement from invasion. The Chancellor is right in this. We'll bide our time and concede for the moment. The last attack by the Adder Beast was an absolutely terrifying event. I've started getting some flax made so that we can start getting some grimstones. I've expanded our labourers' camp so that we can start building the metal weapons that we will need to defend ourselves. However, the labourers are rebelling. Well, they've gone on strike. What's wrong with them is that they need beer. So that's the first thing we need to sort out. And for that we return to Briarfell and finally start doing the thing that I set up this settlement for, growing wheat here on our wheat farm. So that's going to be brought back to Uppadine and turned into beer. Now they're not happy, but they are working, and considering how unhappy our labourers are, I think the labourers part of the settlement would be the best place to build a highly flammable storehouse for Waelgrim crystals. Celebration is in the air. I've just built a fermenter to begin using the wheat that is coming in from Briarfell to start making booze for those angry labourers. We're almost up to the maximum happiness value it's possible to have. Everyone's happy until a woman's scream brings silence. The stranger from a couple of days ago has appeared with two others. Their hands are bearing gifts, the hearts of a lynx, an adder, and a jackal, and these are the three animals that had hearts ripped out of them early on in the storyline. So I believe they are coming to us because we have finished building the Grim stores, and this is the creepy stranger who gave us the recipe for the Grim stores. You have put your trust in her words before, and they've kept you and yours safe. Now, the talks can continue. What is unknown shall be known. You know how the old saying goes, there's only two certainties in life, the Waelgrim and taxes. I've just built a vault, which is going to allow us to set the tax rate, which will impact the happiness of the various different classes in our society. We do have a lot of money at the moment, so I might think about dropping that. Our major problem is that I actually can't store all the money. I think I can have a max of... It's now gone up to 2,000. So it was 1,000 before building this vault. So I might, if we get up to 2,000, I might drop that to make some people happy. And speaking of the Waelgrim, Nice Nile, who showed up a few days ago with some bloody hearts, says that the Niceans are learning about our presence, and that we haven't yet embraced the Waelgrim. Wyrmaxa's greatness is entirely due to its pact with the Waelgrim. It's gone centuries without a worthy challenger. Then surely we must learn what they know. And look at the power that the Waelgrim bestows upon us already. Rope and planks. The Waelgrim is good. I've received a rather worrying update, which is that Wyrmaxa has declared war on us. Now, nothing has happened in the last while. I haven't seen any soldiers marching towards us, and I was in the process of putting in more labourers' houses. God, look at them. They're so unhappy without their beer. I have a smelters up and running, making iron ingots from the iron that is being brought across from our neighbouring region, and this is then being used to produce iron arms. It can also produce tools. I'm not too sure what they're used for, but we are going to begin prepping a military. Now, on the back of that declaration of war, Sir Oisin Hayward is worried about the Grimrot, which appears to be a rival group of bandits. Nysa Nile has some advice for us. And we tell her to stop with her riddles. What can the whale do to assist our military? In response to that question, Nysa seems to be conducting some form of a weapons test. She's brought in a straw dummy and has asked Sir Oisin to strike it. And as part of the demonstration, she has provided Hayward with unnatural powers. So this is actually access to a mastery, which will give all of our units... It'll increase their attack by 25% for all military units in 100 by 100 tile area for a short period. So this is a Waelgrim mastery. We'll hold off on this for a while. We've just been hit with another Waelgrim surge, so horrifying, so terrifying that I wasn't even able to discuss it when it popped up on screen. First of all, food production at your farm has increased. Well, that's actually quite helpful. I also saw the Waelgrim presence drop briefly. Not too sure what actually led to that. We have another series of complaints from the labourers. I've gotten an armory built. To actually produce any soldiers, we need leather armour. To produce leather armour at an outfitter, I first of all need to get a tanner, which means we need 40 labourers. We need to get more of these angry devils. Sir Hayward and Nysa have requested to speak with us after assessing the state of the militia, i.e. we have no militia. Oh god, they're talking about these crystals again. Sir Hayward obviously fancies Nysa, and Nysa is big into crystals, so now Sir Hayward is big into crystals. And now she wants to decorate everything with crystals. If the crystals crack on what is worn or wielded, then the items will lose their benefit, though you can, when time allows, replace the crystals. Of course, we replace the crystals. A demonstration would be appreciated. Do we want to see her trying to prove that the crystals do something? So, she's saying it's difficult to demonstrate, but Sir Hayward is like, I witnessed it, I totally believe this. Our settlement will be well defended by soldiers wielding the power of crystals. Well, we are in a bit of trouble. We have a lot of unhappiness, we have a lot of fire, and we're being told that resources are being stolen because the Grimrot are attacking. Look at these devils, look at them go. I don't think there's going to be much that we can do to stop them. We've gotten an introduction to the Grimrot. They came to you, swift and ferocious, compelled by theft and destruction. I like the sound of these guys. Their dress, sparse and haphazard, their weapons favouring brutality over precision. I already said I like these guys. You don't need to impress me anymore. The Curia gathers to exchange what little knowledge they have. So these guys are just like talking while these guys are, do you know what, I'm going to pause the game. Let them have their fun. Look at them. Having a great old time while my guys are just talking, do nothing. Setting houses on fire. So we can see now that Duke Stanton's actually gotten a really nice head of hair for a very brief moment in time. We don't have any troops to recruit because I'm not producing any armor, because we actually need a hunter's hut to do that. So our armory now stands strong. Does it? Yeah, we shouldn't perceive their actions. We should understand the Grimrot. We should understand things from their point of view. They're not all bad. Just because they've set most of the place on fire doesn't mean they're bad. So despite the Duke's grumblings, your Curia seems satisfied with your instructions. The Chancellor eagerly gathers knowledge of the Grimrot for you, that you might better understand their customs and their ways. I'm sure we can just talk to them. In all fairness to them, they caused more destruction to this region than a literal manifestation of pure evil. So, fair play. And probably one of the reasons why they attacked is because they found out that we have gotten the full chain of production up and running to make armor. Hunter's Lodge will procure hides that are required to make leather. Then we have our tanner, which will turn those into leather. And then we have, I think it's right here, the outfitter, which will finally make leather armor. So we can then go to our armory, which has absolutely no troops at the moment, and start building troops to protect us from the Grimrot. Now we do actually have another defense against the Grimrot, and that is wooden walls. Now these are a bit finicky. I've had a small bit of problems with them. I'm going to see if I can get a bit of a wooden wall up. So it can be a bit difficult just placing them in a straight line. So you can see that's pointing inwards at the moment. I don't think that's what we want. What we want is it pointing outwards. So I'm actually going to cut off this hemp farm. Nysa is back to us again, blathering on about crystals. Nysa, now is not the time. People have lost their homes, they've had things stolen. Now is not the time for this. So Nysa tells us that the Grimrot consume the crystals. How can they live after consuming it? Is it the flax oil? They don't treat the crystals, they just eat them raw. Would you not even dip them in a bit of oil just to make them go down easier? And of course, how much do they consume? What's the dosage of crystals? So the crystals have always been something to avoid, kept locked away in their calming brine. But here, perhaps, potential for another kind of soldier. A super soldier, powered by crystals and nothing else. So we're told that should we walk the path of tyranny, the embodied mastery awaits you. So there are some masteries that are going to open up to us depending on what actions we take going forward. I've gotten a chunk of the settlement's outer wall built. I've put in some gates. These can be closed. And I'm very close to getting another Waelgrim surge. So let's see if I can stick in a bit of a wall and cause it to go up onto the next level. So I need this arrow to point inwards, I think. Or outwards. And food supply has been affected by a mysterious rot. So that wasn't great. And the Grimrot are attacking. What timing. The absolute divils. What timing. I don't think there's any point shutting the gates on the Grimrot because, well, they can just get around them. There's not really all that much there. Let's see if I can actually get some soldiers, however. And here they are, our first soldiers. Look at them. Look at what they're training. Look at what all the hard work has gotten them. All their armor, all their weaponry. Aldrich Shakespeare. That's him there in the middle. He's going one way, he's stuck. He's going the other way, he's stuck. And actually, as we get our soldiers together, the envoy of Wyrmaxa, which apparently declared war on us, has arrived. Look at the smug divil. So he's here giving out to us that we have been communicating with our neighbours. There's two of them now. Duke Stanton is calling one of them a coward. There have two of them who've shown up to bully him. And the envoy tells us, excellent. The king of Wyrmaxa will be very pleased to finally meet with you. Pardon? Nothing, dear knight. You don't get to call him dear knight. Only Nice Neil gets to call him dear knight. Now, as well as building an armory, where our troops are being trained, the barracks trains and accommodates the soldiers of your kingdom, providing them with guidance and rations. A well-stocked barracks ensures all kingdom-bound soldiers remain properly fed. So I know, I'm going to pause to bring up, there's the food stores. Where is the cookhouse? The cookhouse has light military rations, and for that we would need more pork. So, looks like we're setting up more pork farms. Probably set up another one here. Now, something I haven't used too much during this episode, but which I was using extensively when I got to play this game, first of all, on Twitch, is the help menu on certain buildings. So the barracks, it gives us an idea of health. That's kind of a general one. Soldier population. So I think this is simply that it allows us to look at maybe all the soldiers that we have across all of our regions. There a while back, when I was building the smelter and the blacksmith, I saw that we had iron tools as an option. I've been making them for a while, just in case they were needed for anything. Well, I figured out where they're used. They are used in the labourer houses as a luxury item for the labourers. The problem is that it says here, once you have 40 labourers, you will unlock the ability to provide them with iron tools and furniture, which is made in the craft shop, to keep them happy. Now, I have 55 labourers, but I don't as yet have that ability. So that might be, maybe it's actually a higher number, that's just a typo, or maybe it's just an issue with the game being in early access. The last time we were told that the Grimrot were attacking, they didn't actually show up. Are they going to show up this time? And if they do, oh, the devils, there they are. Where are the devils? I've sent out my militia. With their crystals, no doubt. Let's see if we can find them. Maybe they're actually still here. We were told that a camp had set up somewhere, so it's possible that the camp is out here in these regions. We can leave the borders of our settlement. We just can't build out there. So it does indeed look like there's a camp of some sort up there. There's a fireplace. And here is the Grimrot Scourge, dancing and hopping around in place. Our soldiers have gone in. So I think there's maybe a small few issues at the moment with the AI. I've seen people have issues kind of fighting some of the enemy AI. Again, early access, this will be an issue that'll be sorted out as development goes on. For now, we'll just mercilessly slaughter these guys. They have dropped lovely little presents for us. We'll see if we can wipe out their camp. Now, to get these presents that they have dropped on the ground, I think our guys are actually stuck in the presents. Are they? Or else they're not in ability to actually move in that close. It doesn't look like they can. But the presents that have been dropped on the ground, we actually need iron tools to pick them up. So I think if we have a caravan, we might be able to come and pick these up. We can't, by the looks of it, destroy that camp. Good job, militia. Good job. Now, much more important, the day has arrived when we meet with the King of Wyrmaxa, King Brennan. His face betrays the tolls taken by many years of battle, yet still projects a youthful vigour. Your party, while considerably more humble, tries to match their confidence. Sir Hayward is there, Duke Stanton, Declan Bodie, Sage Orla, and Nice Neil, the three creepy ladies who showed up with bloody hearts. So King Brennan tells us that he wasn't here to welcome us when we entered this region after the collapse of Aldemore. I'd not realized the resilience of your survivors, nor your desire to rule. And he says that not much is unknown to him. These women who do their best to hide beneath their cloaks, do you know their true nature? I believe the words they speak. Yeah, sure. But so much has been left unspoken, Eldian, I doubt you've ever bowed to your queen with his words. The daughters, the three ladies, lower their hoods and their cloaks, and Nysa takes a few steps forward. Upon seeing her, all the Wyrmaxians present bend the knee before her. So this is, oh my god, poor Sir Hayward must be absolutely devastated. This is Nysa's husband. Absolutely, what terrible games Nysa has been playing with poor Sir Hayward. All the crystals that man bought. All the crystals he bought. So now we have another one, the Creepy Sisters. This is Orla Neal. This anger is understandable, so apparently we're furious that we have been hoodwinked into buying crystals in such a unscrupulous manner. As you turn to leave the gathering, you can hear the daughters' parting words. Nysa reminds them of the ceremony. Good, let it come. Let the path decide how best to deal with Wyrmaxa and its deceptive queen. As I zoom out, we can see that my military units, some of them have depleted health, and how that recovers by checking the barracks help and going to health. A wounded citizen or soldier heals over time if they have access to a food source, and I would imagine that we need light military rations for them to heal, so I have built another cookhouse and put that on light military rations. And after building part of the wall, we're going to need those rations. An other beast has appeared. The good news is I found him. The bad news is he's in Briarfeld, where we have absolutely no military presence. I'm not too sure what he's attacking at the moment. Is he attacking a wheat farm? Oh no. Oh, what absolutely horrendous timing. My caravan, my trade route. God damn you, other beast. We're alerted of another Grimrot attack. I will deploy the militia, which still hasn't healed. We have some archers in there now. And indeed, the devils have actually figured out how to get out of their camp. I was going to say if that's it, then that's an easy job, but they've actually made it in. They've made it through our open gates. Who would have guessed? Well, let's see, actually. If I can close that door, and close that door. As a barbarian, does he respect doors? He does. So we managed to kill him in the apple field. I think the other guy is gone. There was a third one. So the gates came in useful. Not for keeping people out, but for keeping them in. Now, if I'd managed to shut every single gate, there is still a tiny, tiny region down here. Maybe I now have the money to construct it. We're just short a tiny, tiny bit of gold. Yes, we can build it and wall in the entire settlement. I've actually built it ever so slightly wrong. Having just seen off that attack and starting the construction of the final section of our wall, we are told of a ceremony. So the daughters, the sisters of the Queen of Wyrmaxa, have spent days preparing for this moment, as have your people. The Chancellor, since the daughter's arrival, has done his best to relay the truths of the Waelgrim to your citizens. We stand before the people on the stage, the Curia seated behind us, and the daughters of the Waelgrim before you on the left and right. Sage Niall asks, do you embrace the gifts of this land, the knowledge and power it bestows? I do. I feel that it should be Sir Hayward here. Maybe he doesn't want to marry her anymore now that she's turned out to be the queen. Do you embrace the gifts of this land, the knowledge and power it bestows? I do. Will you cherish and respect the Waelgrim, to which breeds and gives life throughout this land? I will. Does the Waelgrim take me in sickness and in health? It has been decided. You now walk the benevolent path. So you might have spotted it. Our keep has upgraded. It has changed to a benevolent keep. It has a nice little wall. We have nice cobblestone paths. Or not cobblestone. Definitely not cobblestone. I don't know what you'd call them. A lot of the... Have the pigs changed? No, pigs are the same. A lot of the aesthetic of our settlement has now changed, but the keep is the main one that has changed as a result of us going down the benevolent path. So there are a number of paths, and we actually saw that we had access to some masteries depending on what paths we took. So I think Adorned might have been one of them. It gains access to the Adorned ability, which allows for the creation of Waelgrim, crystal, inlaid weapons, and armor at the military works. So I'm going to confirm that one. So that's our 3 masteries, and if we wanted any more, we would now need to reset. So I've taken Wise Workers, which gives us a production boost, the residents required, so 1 extra resident per house, and Adorned, which will give us apparently crystal weapons. And this was one because of an option that we took earlier to defend our settlement. Now, if we had made different decisions up to this point in time, then we would go down the path of tyranny, and we would have a much different looking keep. And to date, I've been working on the logistics, the farmer structures, labour structures, and military structures. We now have scholars and curators, and scholars has 12 unseen buildings. So we need 60 labourers to get an apiary going. And that has a resource that I'm not too sure what it is. Studium, scholar house, water wheel, aqueduct. There's the military works. And there's steel and pulleys. And I'm not too sure what that first one is, but that's another resource that I haven't seen yet. And then for the curators, a bathhouse, a curator house, gardens of bliss, and a winery. So do we have new buildings here? Now, some of these might be buildings we've already seen. There's the infirmary. I haven't actually built that one yet. We do indeed. We have a vineyard. A dairy ranch requires 20 scholars, and a sheep ranch. So lots and lots and lots of new buildings. And we actually also have some new military buildings, a stone wall, and a stone gatehouse. So not enough large stone, so that's what that first item there is. And the pulleys, I think, are made in the crafts shop. The craftsman, so there's rope, there's furniture, and there's pulleys, which requires iron ingots and rope. So I'm building another craftsman down here, which is going to produce some pulleys. And indeed, actually, if we go back and look at the stoneworks, it says there at the top, produces bricks, and there's that image of the bricks, so that is what we're looking for, and we need 20 pulleys. So we better get in here once this is built and change the production queue quickly. So planks, iron, and rope. If we take a look again at the scholar buildings, the apiary produces delicious honey, and we were told earlier that the fermenter produces cider, beer, and mead. Well, that recipe, now that we have access to a building that produces honey, that recipe has been added to the fermenter. So buildings that we've had access to since the start now have new recipes. I've gotten some pulleys made, so I am working on a stoneworks, which is on top of where the rally point used to be for the armory. And clicking here, we can see a lot of new items have been added, so I've already had the option for cavalry, but I haven't been producing any horses. But we now have swordsmen. But wait, that's a swordsman. What's unique about this one is that he is armed with steel arms and steel armor. So at the moment, everyone has iron arms and leather armor, but there's also crystal swords. Whale gruel, that sounds delicious. Steel gauntlets, and lots of new weapons added to the armory as well. And just as we're about to enter day 50, we get our stoneworks up and running. It needs 8 stone. So it needs 8 rough stone to make those into bricks, and I've actually nearly run out of stone. I did run out of stone, and I forgot to actually replace the stone camp, so we've been a bit short of stone for the last while. But now, with rough stone, we would be able to build the next series of buildings that we've gained access to. 50 days in, we've managed to survive. We've managed to wall ourselves off entirely to the outside world. We've picked a path, the path of benevolence. And we've seen the next tier of weapons and military units that we can train. Now, you might be wondering, why exactly do we need a military? All we've gone up against so far is the Grimrot, and they're not exactly the toughest. When I was playing this on Twitch, I managed to sneak my caravan into Wyrmaxa, or at least into the outer walls. And it is quite a large and terrifying complex. And at some stage, either Wyrmaxa is going to come for us, or we are going to put together a military that will allow us to go and seize Wyrmaxa and defeat King Brennan and kill him the way that Sir Hayward can marry his wife. So that's been the first 50 days of Thrive Heavy Lies the Crown, which has just entered early access in the last couple of days. There's still a couple of bugs and a couple of issues to be sorted out, but the dev team are hard at work on that. And I'm going to return to take a look at this as development continues and as it gets closer to a full launch. Comment below and tell me what you thought. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you in future as we storm the walls of Wyrmaxa.